The old train station was quiet that evening, the kind of silence that felt heavy, almost sacred, broken only by the rustle of newspapers and the distant cry of a train whistle fading into the mountains. Among the few passengers scattered across the benches sat a man, mid-40s, tall, dressed in a worn grey coat that looked like it had weathered years of rain and regret. His name was Daniel Hart. His hair had begun to grey at the temples. His eyes carried the quiet exhaustion of someone who had waited far too long for something or someone that might never return. Every day for the past 3 years, Daniel came to this very platform at precisely 5:45 in the evening. He would sit on the same wooden bench, holding a small paper bag with a white rose inside it. To the casual observer, he looked like an ordinary man waiting for a late train. But those who worked at the station knew Daniel wasn't waiting for a train. He was waiting for her. Once, Daniel had everything: a thriving architectural firm, a beautiful home on a hill overlooking the city, and a family that was his entire world. His wife Amelia had been the light in his life, gentle and warm, the kind of woman whose laughter could fill a room and make you forget the world outside. Their daughter Lily was only 5 when everything changed. It had been a stormy night when the accident happened. Amelia had gone out to pick Lily up from her dance recital while Daniel stayed back at work, thinking he'd surprise them with dinner at their favorite place. But fate doesn't wait for love. A truck skidded on the rain-slick road, and in a flash, his world shattered. Lily survived, but Amelia didn't, or at least that's what everyone thought. Her car had been crushed. Her body never recovered. Only fragments of the wreckage and a few personal items were found. The police said it was impossible she survived, but Daniel refused to believe it. There had been no closure, no goodbye, no funeral he could stand through without feeling that she was still somewhere out there, lost, maybe hurt but alive. In the months that followed, his life fell apart. He sold the firm, let go of the house, and dedicated himself to searching for Amelia. He put up posters, combed hospitals, rehab centers, and shelters, anywhere she might have gone if she'd somehow escaped. But every lead ended in silence. People called him obsessed. His own parents begged him to move on, to think of Lily. And he did. He raised her as best as he could, told her bedtime stories about how her mother was out there, looking at the same stars they were. But as years passed, Lily grew quieter, learning to live with a father who carried hope like a wound that never healed. On this day, as Daniel sat alone again at the station, the rain began to fall, soft, cold drops that blurred the world around him. He pulled the collar of his coat up, holding the paper bag tightly in his hand. The white rose was her favorite. Every anniversary he'd bring one, in case she came back. He looked around the platform, families reuniting, couples laughing, strangers brushing past, but none of them had her eyes. None of them had her soul. He sighed and glanced at the clock. 5:55, no sign. He was about to leave when a little girl's voice broke through the sound of rain. "Mister, are you waiting for someone?" He turned. The voice belonged to a girl no older than 7, her big brown eyes curious and kind. She held a pink umbrella that was far too big for her small hands. Daniel smiled faintly. "Yes," he said softly. "I'm waiting for someone very special." "Is she late?" the girl asked, stepping closer. "She's been late for a long time," Daniel said with a gentle laugh that cracked halfway through. The girl tilted her head. "Mommy says sometimes people take longer because they're finding their way back." Her innocence stung his heart in the best and worst way. "Your mommy sounds very wise." "She is," the girl nodded proudly. "She was sad for a long time, but she says smiles are how we tell the world we're trying again." Daniel's eyes softened. "That's a beautiful thought." Before he could ask her name, a woman's voice called from a distance. "Ella, don't wander off, sweetheart." Daniel turned and froze. The woman approaching looked fragile yet familiar. Her brown hair was tucked under a scarf, her eyes shielded by dark glasses. She moved slowly, almost carefully, as if unsure of each step. And when she reached the platform light, Daniel's breath caught in his throat. It was her. It was Amelia. He could never forget the curve of her jaw, the way her hand brushed her hair from her face, or the faint scar on her wrist he used to kiss when she was nervous. Everything inside him screamed to run to her, to hold her, to ask how and why, but his legs felt rooted to the earth. The world blurred around him. The only clear thing was her. The little girl, Ella, ran up to her and tugged her sleeve. "Mommy, this man's waiting for someone too." Amelia froze, her hand trembling as she looked up. For a moment she didn't move. Then her lips parted, but no sound came. Daniel rose slowly, his heart pounding so hard it hurt. "Amelia?" he whispered, voice breaking like glass. The woman's eyes widened, tears pooling behind the dark lenses. But she shook her head faintly. "You must be mistaken." Her voice was softer, lower, but unmistakable. Daniel stepped closer, desperate, terrified, trembling. "It's you." "Amelia, it's me. It's Daniel." Ella looked between them, confused. "Mommy, do you know him?" Amelia's lips quivered. She turned to her daughter and whispered something inaudible. Ella frowned and said in her innocent honesty, "Mommy's just wiping her tears." The world stopped. The rain fell harder. Daniel stood there, the white rose now crushed in his fist, as the weight of 3 years of hope collided with the impossible. Truth standing before him, Amelia, his wife, alive, with a child who wasn't his. And in that, one moment, the station lights flickered. The announcement for the next train echoed in the distance, and time seemed to bend. Daniel took one step closer. "Amelia, where have you been?" But she turned away, clutching Ella's hand tightly. "Please," she whispered, her voice shaking, "don't follow us." Before he could reply, she walked toward the exit, leaving Daniel standing there, alone again, but this time not with uncertainty, this time with the cruel ache of knowing she was alive and yet gone. As the train roared past, Daniel's reflection flickered in the glass, beside the faint ghost of a woman who had once been his everything. And deep inside he knew this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. The image of Amelia standing at the station with that little girl, her little girl, played in his mind like a film on repeat. Every blink brought her face back, the trembling lips, the faint tremor in her voice, the tears she tried to hide behind dark glasses. He sat by the window of his small apartment, the white rose now lying wilted on the table beside him. For 3 years he had prayed for this moment, to see her alive, to hold her again, but now that it had come, it felt like the cruelest mercy. She was there, yet unreachable, alive but lost in ways he couldn't yet understand. The rain hadn't stopped outside. It was as if the world itself was weeping the tears he couldn't find the strength to shed. By morning he knew he couldn't leave it like that. He had to find her, if not for himself, then for Lily, who still asked about her mother every night before bed. So Daniel went back to the station, asking everyone, the ticket collector, the old man at the coffee stall, the woman who sold flowers, if they'd seen Amelia. Finally, the old vendor pointed him toward a quiet neighborhood on the edge of town. "She comes sometimes with her little girl," he said softly. "Buys flowers, always white lilies. Says they remind her of something she lost." That was all Daniel needed. He drove there, his hands gripping the wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. The roads grew narrower, quieter, until he reached a small cottage near the woods, its roof patched with tin, its garden wild with overgrown roses. Through the window he saw Amelia sitting on the floor with Ella, helping her draw. For a moment he just watched. Her smile was softer now, fragile but genuine. It hit him then. She had found some kind of peace here, away from everything she once knew. He stepped out of the car, heart pounding, and walked to the door. When she opened it, her face drained of color. "Daniel," she whispered, voice trembling. "You shouldn't be here." "I had to come," he said quietly. "You owe me the truth." For a long moment she said nothing. Then she looked back toward Ella's room, where the little girl's laughter echoed softly. Amelia motioned for him to come inside. The house was simple. 2 rooms, shelves filled with children's books, sketches taped to the wall. It didn't look like a place built on lies. It looked like a place built to forget pain. "Sit down," she said, her hands shaking as she poured tea. "You deserve to know everything." Daniel sat, eyes fixed on her. "You were dead, Amelia. I searched everywhere. How could you let me think you were gone?" She took a deep breath, tears forming before she even began. "The night of the accident. I didn't die, but I almost wished I had." Her voice was fragile, cracking under the weight of memory. "When the car went off the road, I woke up in a hospital 3 towns away. I had head trauma, broken ribs, and I didn't remember who I was. For months, I lived in a fog, unable to recall my name, our life, you or Lily. I was just a ghost of myself." Daniel swallowed hard, his throat tight. "And you never came back?" "I couldn't," she whispered. "When my memory started returning, it was already too late. I found out about the funeral, about the posters, about you selling everything to find me. I wanted to come home, but when I saw how broken you looked in the news coverage, I thought I'd destroy what little peace you'd found. And," she paused, glancing toward the room where Ella was humming, "I found out I was pregnant from before the accident." Daniel froze, the world tilting beneath him. "Pregnant? You mean Ella?" She nodded slowly, tears slipping down her cheeks. "She's yours, Daniel. She's ours." For a long time, neither of them spoke. The rain outside softened to a gentle drizzle, and in that silence, everything fell into place. The timelines, the faint resemblance in Ella's eyes, the way she smiled like Amelia used to. Daniel felt something inside him collapse and rebuild at once. He rose, stepping closer, his voice trembling. "Then why hide? Why let me think you were gone? We could have raised her together, been a family again." Amelia looked up at him, pain carved into every line of her face. "Because I wasn't the same woman you married. The accident changed me, Daniel. The doctors said the trauma might come back at any time. I couldn't bear for Lily to see me like that, to forget her, to scare her. I thought I'd protect you all by staying away." He shook his head, tears blurring his vision. "You didn't protect us, Amelia. You broke us. You broke me." She stood, her shoulders trembling. "Do you think I don't know that? Every night I prayed that you'd move on, that you'd smile again. But when I saw you at the station yesterday, I realized you never did. You were still waiting for me." Daniel's voice softened, breaking through the anger. "Because I never stopped loving you." Amelia covered her face, sobbing quietly. Then Ella came running out, holding a crayon drawing. "Mommy! Look, it's you, me, and the man from the station," she said brightly. Daniel knelt down, smiling through his tears. "That's a beautiful drawing, sweetheart." Ella grinned. "Mommy said you're someone special." He looked up at Amelia, who stood frozen, guilt and love warring in her eyes. He gently reached out his hand. "She deserves to know the truth." "We both do." Amelia nodded slowly and knelt beside Ella. "Sweetheart," she whispered, "this is your daddy." The little girl blinked, confusion turning into wonder. "My daddy?" Daniel's heart nearly burst as she threw her small arms around his neck. He held her tight. The years of emptiness finally breaking into something warm and whole. Amelia watched, tears streaming, but this time they weren't only tears of pain, they were tears of release. Hours passed as they talked, about the past, about Lily, about the chance of rebuilding what was lost. Daniel told her how Lily had grown, how she still left a spot at the dinner table for her mother. Amelia listened silently, clutching a photo he'd brought of their first family trip. The 3 of them sat together as the sun began to set, its golden light spilling through the window, like a quiet promise that maybe, just maybe, the past didn't have to define their tomorrow. When it was time to leave, Amelia walked him to the door. "Do you think Lily would want to see me?" she asked, her voice trembling. "She's been waiting for that day her whole life," Daniel said softly. "Just like I was." She smiled through her tears. "Then maybe it's time I stop hiding." The next day they met Lily at the park. The moment she saw her mother, time stopped. Lily froze, her eyes wide, her lips quivering. "Mom?" Amelia nodded, crying openly now. "Yes, baby, it's me." Lily ran into her arms, sobbing, and for the first time in years, Daniel felt whole again watching them. Ella joined in, giggling, hugging both her sister and her mother, asking 100 questions no one could answer fast enough. The three of them together. It was as if life itself had come full circle. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Amelia turned to Daniel, her hand finding his. "Thank you for waiting," she whispered, "even when I wasn't sure I was worth being found." He smiled faintly. "You were always worth it." In the distance, the sound of a train whistle echoed, soft, fading but filled with hope. The station that had once been a place of sorrow was now a memory of endurance, of love that had survived storms, silence, and time itself. That night, as Daniel tucked both his daughters into bed and watched Amelia sitting by the window, humming softly, he realized something. Profound, sometimes love doesn't come back the way you expect. Sometimes it returns quietly, broken, but still burning strong enough to light the darkness. And for anyone watching, for anyone who had ever waited for something or someone they thought they lost forever, Daniel's story whispered one truth: never stop believing that love finds its way home. So if you felt something in your heart today, if you believe in second chances and in the power of love that never gives up, then hit that subscribe button, join our family, and let's keep sharing stories that remind us, no matter how dark life gets, there's always light waiting at the next station.